Good morning. America is open for business. This is Martha Boneta, and you are listening live to the John Fredericks Show across America. We are here live in studio, and I am filling in for John today. We have a tremendous show for you, a great lineup of American rock stars. We are going to be discussing our troops in Syria, China, the border wall and the National Guard, free speech and First Amendment issues on our campuses and at home. We'll be discussing BLM overreach and, are you ready for this? Russian gas coming to Boston. Our first guest up today is a great American patriot, Carl Higbie. He is a former U.S. Navy SEAL, a former Trump campaign surrogate, and director of advocacy at American First Policies. In addition to his almost 9 years in the U.S. Navy, including 2 tours of duty in Iraq, Mr. Higbie has also been a small business owner, author, and congressional candidate. He was also previously the spokesman for the Great America PAC, and I also have the distinct privilege of working with Carl Higbie at America First. Carl, good morning. Thank you so much for your sacrifice and service to our nation. I'm so thrilled and honored to have you on our show.
Well, good morning. Thanks for that intro, too. That was really something.
Well, you know, I was just recently at the border wall in New Mexico, and I was able to get up close and personal with it. And, you know, a lot of Americans haven't seen it. And, you know, there's a lot of talk in the news now, Carl, about deploying the National Guard to defend the border with Mexico. And I was hoping you could, you know, tell our listeners what your thoughts are about it and how important this is for our nation.
So this is something this is what President Trump does best. Is he does these movements out of posture. He does them out of to make a statement, and then he gets people to come back to the table. People that we need at the table to discuss these things, but that previously, you know, the previous president obviously didn't actually have any desire or any ability to negotiate. So President Trump sends these troops down to the border. Now, there's 2 ways to activate the National Guard. There's Title 32 and Title 10. One allows it state control, one allows it federal control, and it depends on whether it's the state or federal government who pays for it. Now, they're not going down there with weapons. They're going down there in what you would call like an advise and report position. But what I'm curious to see is over the next couple of days, as we start seeing these troops trickle in, what's going to happen with the Mexican government? Are they going to come back to the table? I know we have the NAFTA thing back, that's back being discussed. What's going to happen with Mexico? Are they going to be more cooperative? And this is a deterrent. This is what President Trump does best. He makes these statements, and then it gets people thinking about the issue. So are we going to see a reduction in people coming into the border? I think so. And you know, to be determined, but I believe that this is probably one of the greatest immigration moves that we've seen in a generation.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And President Trump has received great support from the governors bordering Mexico, and because they know firsthand what it's like to be a border state that is subject to so many illegal crossings. And can you also speak to a little bit about, you know, the drug cartel and what's happening at the border, and also in terms of just our national security and how important our president's plan is as far as our securing our borders is concerned?
Yeah, well, you went into the governors. The Oregon governor said they're not going to send troops. I said, fine, you're 1,000 miles away
exactly.
from the border. Who cares?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
We'll find someone else to send their troops. So, you know, this is something that people don't understand. Like, I'm from the New York area. So, you know, Long Island has a massive MS-13 problem. New York has a MS-13 problem. They're not coming from, you know, North Carolina. They're coming across the southern border, and they're coming here and they're dealing massive drugs. It's a crime syndicate, and this is something that has to be stopped. And now, if you don't live in the gang-ridden areas of America, you don't know this. If you're from Middle America, if you're from New Hampshire, if you're from Ohio, you don't know firsthand about these MS-13 problems, but they are a significant problem, and that's what we're trying to stop. This is not about hating immigrants. It has nothing to do with that. And when these people tell me, "Oh, President Trump hates, people of that come from south of the border," that's not true.
That's right.
It's just not true. He just wants them to come here legally, and he wants it to benefit the United States of America, not people coming here over our citizens.
That's absolutely correct. And, what our president is doing is he is making America first. And he is unrolling and releasing his plan on America to secure our borders and keep us safe. And that's exactly what he is doing right here with this initiative. And in terms of, moving forward, how do you anticipate what do you anticipate, or what do you expect from Mexico? How do you expect Mexico to respond, or what are the different ways that we can see Mexico responding to having our?
It's going to be interesting because you saw what happened with the tariffs and the trade and things like that.
That's right.
Everyone said, "Oh, you can't put tariffs." Now look, President Trump came down on tariffs. He doubled down last night. We're going to do more tariffs. But look at what's happening that's not being reported by the mainstream media, of course, because it's good. China is open to discuss the tariff situation.
That's exactly right.
Now, we're standing up. They're standing up. It's not like it's mutually destructive long term for these tariffs to go on. And both sides know that. Now, if you only watched CNN, you'd think that it was going to single-handedly destroy the American economy and things. That's not the case. This is a temporary thing. President Trump got him back to the table. We've been bent over by China for years and years and years and years on trade. And now he's got him back to the table. The same thing with immigration, this is what's going to happen time and time again. There's going to be this, he's going to make a very bold move that is going to appear in the immediate time that it could be negative. But what it's going to do is it's going to make them get back to the table. It's going to make them start talking to the United States of America and say, okay, you know what, we realize, he's resetting the scales on nearly every industry right now.
Well, absolutely.
Because for so long, we didn't have somebody stand up for us.
You're not kidding. And really, for far too long in the last administration, for 8 years too long, there was a complete lack of congressional action to reform our broken immigration system. And
there still is a lack of congressional action.
And there still is. And so here we have a president that is making America first, that is speaking for millions and millions and millions of Americans all across our country, the majority of which support his initiative. And we're still seeing, all kinds of criticism coming from, the fake news media out there.
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing, too, is, you recently saw his approval rating pop to 50, then 51%. At the same time, Barack Obama, by the same poll, was 46%, I believe it was. And yet, no coverage.
That's right.
There's absolutely no coverage. It is shocking. The funny thing to me, Martha, is that you have, what does the Republican Party stand for? It stands for keeping Americans safe, putting Americans first, putting more money in Americans' paycheck, making sure that our troops aren't dying in foreign wars that we're not getting, reciprocity for. We're not getting some sort of reciprocation of resources and assets. We stand for more jobs. We stand for the lowest black unemployment ever in the history of the nation that's ever been recorded. And what does the liberal movement stand for? They stand for, bust solar companies and hybrid cars and, and bringing more citizens over here illegally than we can possibly fathom. And the shocking thing, Martha, is it's still a 50-50 proposition in America. Why do we have a country that votes 50% for the Democratic Party? Are they that underinformed, or do they just hate America?
Right. That's right. That's right. And that's the question. Carl, thank you. I know you're catching a train. We want to thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to have you back on the John Fredericks Show very soon.
Well, thanks for having me.
Safe travels. Thank you.